Hi everybody, welcome to our Thrive Extra video that we send out to those of you who give extra in terms of prayer or finances to the ministry. And it's really great to have Amy with me here, sharing this trip with you. It was great to have her with me on the trip as well. One great thing we found out is that it's really important to know if you travel well with somebody or not, right? And so
Which we do, thankfully.
We do. We travel really well together because especially when you're in cramped quarters and you're
Sleeping on futons.
yeah, sleeping on futons. That's true. And then also there was a bit of an issue with travel and the air flights over, and so those are the times when who you are come out, and who she is awesome. So so just to let you know, we did have a little bit of an issue with our flight over. When we were in country, everything was great. In fact, we traveled so much. We were all over the country, 1,600 miles in the car and over the month. And so there was a lot of that, and no problems at all. But going over, whoever booked the tickets, which would have been me, made a mistake, and apparently my computer auto-populated the little name segment when I was ordering the tickets, and it said medley. I didn't catch it. My passport says Mark Medley.
To be fair, it was probably a couple weeks before our wedding, so he had a few things on his mind.
Yeah. So I had an excuse. So I had an excuse to be unthoughtful, or I didn't know.
Absent-minded.
Absent-minded, yeah. It was my mind was full. It was just full of other things. Anyway, so we got there. Our first flight over the Atlantic was canceled, and so we had to go the next day. So we were a day behind anyway. Then we waited. We were flying. It was late. Late the next night, we were trying to get the plane in Chicago to Warsaw, and they just wouldn't let us fly because the name on the passport is Mark Medley, the name on the ticket is Medley, and it wasn't going to happen. We prayed, asked the Lord to give us a heavenly advocate. Do something in the spirit, and also asked that we'd have an earthly advocate, because we had two people that told us no. Somebody at Polish Airlines, this nice lady, stepped up and took our case under her wing, and she actually phoned border control in Warsaw. It was 3 a.m. at Warsaw, and she pushed it for us. And though everybody was on the plane, we were getting ready to miss our flight, but they let us go. So, saying this to say thank you for praying for us, because these kind of things, they're, even though it was a mistake that was made by me, there are open doors in the spirit and closed doors. And so we, as Paul prayed, pray for us that an open door would happen, for the furtherance of the gospel. And so we thank you for praying that we made it over. And we did. We made it the afternoon before we started, hours before we started ministering. So to the New Psalm Studies and Piesno Passages Songwriters camp. So this was fantastic. These songwriters, as you know, we've been working with them many times before. And one beautiful thing is that they gave us this picture of all of these songwriters on it. This is both the first and the second groups. And so all of these pictures, all these photos, these people have stories behind them, and we know most of them, and Amy got to know a lot of them.
Yeah.
So this was beautiful that they gave this to us, but they also gave us another gift, which was really unexpected. And you want to tell them about that?
Sure. So the last night of camp, they had us stand, and they wanted to give us a gift for our wedding, and they sang a wedding song for us, and then they presented this framed photo and also a huge piggy bank that was full of cash that they had all contributed. And it was just really unexpected and very sweet, and a real blessing. We ended up using it throughout our trip in Poland.
Yeah, the pig paid for all of our gas in Poland and many of our meals, and we also were able to give to other people. There's some things we felt like the Lord laid on our hearts to give, pretty significant amounts of money to people to bless them, and actually the pig paid for that. So
huge blessing.
Praise the Lord for the pig.
Yeah.
This is a picture of the group as they were together in the room. 80 songwriters. They wrote nearly 40 songs in those 4 or 5 days and debuted them, and just fantastic opportunities there. And then one great thing is I get to see Amy in this role as teacher, and she really has a great message especially about abiding in Christ from John 15. And so she shared that, and also a little bit of her story, and about waiting on the Lord, abiding in the Lord, waiting on His time as well. And it really resonated with a lot of the ladies, especially some of the ladies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that was one of the most special things to me, is to be able to connect personally with the ladies at the camp. Most of the group, most of the songwriters there were women, and so it was a blessing to have the opportunity to share with them and convey my story, and it resonated with a lot of them, and they made time to come and talk to me on an individual basis, and that was really a blessing. Also, it was a blessing for me, my first time in this capacity, to see the investment that Mark has made into the country of Poland, and that you have made as supporters, continuing to bear fruit. A couple of examples that come to mind. After one of the services, one of the songwriters came up to Mark and me and gave us a small wedding gift, and she just said, "Your message that you shared about the gospel during one of our songwriter camps was the most significant message I've ever heard, and it really has changed my life." And another time, a woman came up to him after a sermon, and she said, "Last time when you were here, you mentioned that you keep a journal and that you look for the 5 top things that God taught you during the year when at the end of the year." And so I was inspired to buy 15 journals for the women in my home group. And so we've been keeping a record of what God is doing, and it's been a real encouragement to us. And just numerous times, actually, when we were connecting with the 20 different couples that we visited, people would mention things that Mark has taught before. And I know he doesn't want me to necessarily sing his praises, but I do want to convey that what you have invested is continuing to bear fruit, and giving Mark the opportunity to go has really impacted people's lives. So we're grateful for that. And I did want to read one of the responses that a songwriter wrote about Mark. The songwriter said, "Mark Medley has been with us as our teacher of the word since our first meetings. Before the first song was written, before we called ourselves songwriters, we gathered to learn about Christ." And that's really their emphasis, is not just songwriting, but being a community of gospel-centered believers. So about how the cross is not just the door to Christianity, but our daily reality in good and beautiful moments, as well as in the valleys of sadness. We are grateful that God sent us Mark to help us understand this anew and embrace it in each of our lives, so that from this place of revelation, new songs for new times can flow. So it seems to be bearing fruit. The gospel is bearing fruit in the lives of these songwriters, and that's very affirming and encouraging.
Yeah, and really thank you so much, because you guys are so much of a part of this, making this possible for it to happen. It is beautiful to see the fruit that's happening there. And one of the things that's happening, I have to show you this video, but I have to tell you about it first. One of the things that's happening is, as you've heard me say before, there's Catholics and Protestants in this group, and all different denominations of Protestants. And last year, at this summer camp, after our camp, Mateo and I went down to this large family camp that's put on called Strefafawa Glory Zone. And we talked about songwriting and about worship. And I think we were the only two evangelicals there. It's a Catholic camp. But they really worship. They've been using this songwriter's songs for the last 2 years. And these are songs that are like resonating all over Poland. The church all over Poland sings these songs, many of them. So as we were in the camp, the last night I think of the camp this happened, at Strefafawa, which was in the south, they wanted to do a Zoom call in during their evening worship service and pray over us. And basically what's happening, what you're going to see is the bishop, the Catholic bishop, who is praying a blessing over the songwriters that in the room where we were, thanking us for our effort and for the effect that it's having in the church all over Poland, and blessing us. And the reason this is really significant is because when they bless it, they're not only approving of it for all these Catholics in the nation, but they're also saying this is something we want to shepherd. We're blessing you, and we want you to be a part of us and us a part of you. And this is this unity of John 17, where Jesus said, "Let them be one as we are one, Father." And the glory comes, and the revelation of Jesus, who Jesus is, comes. This is John 17 prayer. So this is what you're going to be seeing here and hearing a little bit of. This is the priest praying over us at the camp.
Tobie chwałę i cześć i dziękujemy, że ich stworzyłeś, że ich wymyśliłeś, że są także naszą radością, że są radością Kościoła, który tworzymy. Bądź błogosławiony. Bądź błogosławiony. Dziękujemy.
So what a joy that was to see this kind of unity happening. And I think it's happening kind of grassroots. A lot of things happening in Poland politically, in the EU politically. There's a lot of turmoil with the war next door and all these things that are happening. But underneath the surface, there's a move of the Spirit in unity. And God is doing something. This is going to be really big, I think. And we're just a little bitty part of it. So, but you're a part of it.
Exactly.
And of course, we got to see, as we went around, as Amy said, we met with 20 different couples over the course of the month. And this means sometimes just meeting for a lunch or extended lunch. And sometimes it's meeting, like being in their home for 3 days and spending deeper time with them. Slept on some futons, I'm telling you. It's good to be back in your bed. But this, most of you know Bartek and Daria, and you've seen them, and you maybe have seen one of their sons, but this is their second son there, Jeremiah, right? Yeah. And so we got to see them in their house, and Daria had just had Jeremiah a few days before. And this is a picture of their church there, church that at Trinity we helped to plant, and we've been kind of inputting into from before the beginning, actually. So we both got to speak a little bit there at that church, and that was a joy. And then, speaking of joy, this is Amy's cousin, Joy, and her husband, Igor, and you can tell them a little bit about that, maybe.
Yeah, so Igor and Joy just moved to Poznan, and about 3 months ago, 3 months prior to our visit, and their goal is to establish a YWAM base in the city of Poznan. There are YWAM bases in other cities in Poland, but not in the city of Poznan. And Igor has a pretty remarkable story about how the Lord led him to that particular city. He was just praying about how the Lord would have them serve him, and as he was praying, the name Poznan appeared to him, and he didn't even know where it was. So he looked it up and discovered that it was in Poland, and and they started making moves to transition to the country of Poland, and they're there kind of indefinitely, aiming to serve the locals. And particularly Igor is Ukrainian, and as you know, there are a lot of Ukrainian immigrants, and so he's already been able to establish some relationships and reach out to people there. And we were able to connect them with some longtime friends of Mark, and that will be a real help to them, I think, as they're getting settled.
Yeah, and another one of the groups that one of the couples rather that we got to spend time with is Robert and Tolka. And Robert and Tolka, I met actually through the songwriters and through Walking Through Grief. And the reason we met them specifically is because their story is very much like ours. Robert lost his wife to cancer as well. And then Tolka was not married. She was single until a little later in her life. And so they met, and the Lord brought them together kind of quickly, and our stories are remarkably similar. And so it's just beautiful how the Lord has brought that together, brought them together, brought us together, but also brought us together around the Walking Through Grief thing. And Robert is using that concept of walking through grief to reach out to other people who are dealing with loss. And he's had a conference actually they did last year on loss. Mm-hmm. And so these kind of grief principles he's learned, he's putting to practice there. And then another couple that we were able to meet with, this is Amy's story, so I'll let you tell them.
So the couple that we're visiting here are Yuri and Marina, and they moved to Poland as missionaries prior to the beginning of the war. They are from Ukraine originally, and when the war started, they were really instrumental in bringing hundreds of refugees across the border. And we were able, my home church in Alabama, Cornerstone Fellowship, we were able to partner with them in doing a camp for the refugee children, Ukrainian refugee children, for a couple of years in the city of Opole. And that was a blessing for our church because we had done 25 years of Christian camps for youth and children in Russia. And when the door closed there, it was great to be able to continue reaching out to people, and particularly in this way, and have the privilege of partnering with Russians to serve the Ukrainians. So it was great to see them again. They have started a church for Ukrainians, and I had some real great questions about discipleship that we were able to talk over.
So also a couple of things, as we're finishing up here, I wanted to tell you that were just little blessings for us. You know, the great thing, one great thing about us is we're both coffee people, and we appreciate good coffee, and you don't always get good coffee everywhere you go. And so one day we were walking around, we're also museum people, so we went to this museum, we were there all day long, and then we were walking back looking for something to eat, but really looking for a good cup of coffee that wasn't just espresso based drink like latte thing, but actual really, some kind of a drip coffee that was like single origin and really good. Okay, we're looking for that. Where do you find this? Well, we just happened providentially upon the Coffee Museum, y'all. The Coffee Museum in Krakow. And this brother that runs this museum, it's only been open like maybe 3 months or so. And you see us there sitting you can kind of see this is like this really fancy coffee maker and some incredible desserts, which he gave us. And this brother, Tomek, if you look up Krakow, Coffee Museum Krakow on Facebook, you can see it. He has an incredible story. He actually went to Moldova years ago, because in Moldova there's a cave that apparently they have accumulated 1 million wine bottles of wine in this cave. And so he went to Moldova to see the cave of wine, but he met this pastor, a gypsy pastor, who invited him to his house. And the pastor's wife made a cup of coffee the old-fashioned way with the little Turkish thing on top of the stove. And this is he said, like, changed everything for him. It was the only actual good cup of coffee he's ever tasted. And then the pastor presented the gospel and led him to Jesus. So he went to Moldova to get wine, but he came back. He actually found coffee and Jesus there. And so he's a real Christian, and he's really happy to talk to you about his faith, but also about coffee. And in the coffee museum, he has 1,000 different implements of like items of coffee roasting, coffee grinding, coffee making. Some of them hundreds of years old. It's incredible. If you care at all about coffee, it's incredible, and I do.
Yeah.
So this was a great gift, and we actually came back
What
the
a
next
fun.
morning to do a coffee with Mark there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and one more thing that was really a blessing to us, our dear friends Ken and Angela, who were at our wedding, and that also have a similar story to ours. Ken's wife died, and so he was a widower, and Angela had not married until late in life, and they connected. So we have a similar story. Well, they were in Gdansk in a year ago, maybe, and they loved it so much that they gave us a wedding present of being able to stay at the same location in the same place where they stayed, which is on this river, which was really a blessing, huge blessing. So just wanted to let you know we weren't always on futons, but we were mostly with people.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Yep. And you want to talk about this one?
Well, speaking of people, here's one of the home groups that we visited, and Mark and I were able to share here. Really refreshing to see this group of believers. They're just, a few of them have been kind of burnt in the traditional church setting, and they are looking to really just follow the scripture. What does it say about church organization, and how do we do things biblically? And so they were really earnestly seeking the Lord in prayer and worship and reading the Bible. Very refreshing group. So this was with our friends Piotr and Anya.
Yeah, Piotr and Anya. The first time I went to Gdansk, I went to their house. I didn't know them at all, but somebody else that knew them said you should go to their house and stay there. So I knocked on their door, and they opened the door, and that was a few years back, and it's been a beautiful friendship. They're great people. Okay, last picture I want you to see, because it's my favorite picture of it all. So we met with our friend Andrzej and Duziak, who I've been working with since 2002 in Poland, actually. And Andrzej has a network of churches, maybe 80 or more churches in this network that he has been through the years kind of the overseer of. And so we met on our very last day. We met them in Warsaw just before we flew out the next day. And this is his Amy and his wife Yola. Well, the thing about it is everybody who is over a certain age in Poland grew up required to learn Russian, because they were a Russian, basically they were a Soviet satellite state, and under communism, affected by Russia, or the Soviet Union at that time, you have to learn Russian. And so they spoke Polish, of course, but they had to learn Russian. And Yola doesn't speak English that well. She understands it better than she speaks it. So she's kind of outside of the conversation sometimes when we're meeting. But Amy was there. Of course, Amy speaks Russian. And so when Yola found that Amy spoke Russian, she was so excited.
Her eyes just lit up. And so we immediately bonded and had a great afternoon just connecting. And I think it was a real encouragement to her. So that was really neat.
Yeah, so Andrzej and I are back behind talking about, church stuff or whatever. And I just had to snap this picture because they're up there talking about what? I don't know, whatever.
Mostly family.
Family and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Such a sweet thing. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for your belief in what we do, and the ongoing fruit of going back to some places over and over it's really important, and it's really beautiful, and it's really bearing fruit, especially in a lot of these younger Younger couples, some of them are actually stepping into roles where they're leading churches now, and there's many of them in their 30s, and so but they're young. But we have an opportunity to continue a relationship with them and have input with them, and it's just so good. So just want to thank you so much again for everything that you do. You're a part of what we do, and we're always working together to multiply healthy leaders in the nation. So God bless.
Thank you.